Let's start the podcast. Off the Cliff Sports, episode 18. I'm your host, Cliff Jacks. Happy Mother's Day to all the ladies out there. All you ladies, we couldn't do it without you. My mom, my grandma, my stepmoms. I love you guys. My wife. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Got graduations going on everywhere. It's that time of year. So we're going to have a quick episode this week. I got to hit the road, about to do a little traveling. But I could not leave without giving you guys some off the cliff sports. A lot of NBA talk this week, some NHL because it is playoff time and both of those leagues have some exciting things going on. This has been a very good playoff season for the NHL and NBA, and I think the fans are enjoying what they're seeing. But before we get into any of that talk, in the NFL, the number one draft pick, Kyler Murray, signed a 4-year with the team 5th-year option contract, $35 million, $23.5 million signing bonus of that $35 million. Nice contract, Kyler. That signing bonus is more than his whole baseball contract that he was scheduled to make. He did some good negotiating, and I think he came out on top. That signing bonus is his as long as he's there, participating. Doesn't matter how good he plays. He has that $23 billion up front. Also, the Miami Dolphins made a move, which to me was kind of odd. They signed Xavier Rhodes, cornerback, to the largest cornerback contract in the NFL. And I'm sorry, it's Xavier Howard. $46 million guaranteed on a 5-year, $76 million contract for Xavier Howard for the Dolphins. I think Flores comes in, and I think he definitely wants to build defense first in Miami. I hope that works out for him. I think he got a steal in Josh Rosen at quarterback, so I think Miami may be on a faster track to success than some people think, because their offense has a few things here and there. I definitely know we need to get some receivers in Miami for them to succeed, but we're going to see how that pans out. What else in the NFL? The Jaguars linebacker, Jalen Smith, said he's not going to play in 2019. Erase that, I'm sorry, Jalen Smith is the Cowboys linebacker. Tevin Smith is the Jaguars linebacker who's decided not to play in 2019, but he may come back for the 2020 season. So either he's tired of all the physical beatings that they take as a linebacker, because you're up in there and he's worried more about his health, which is a good thing, or he's just not into it. I guess time will tell. And also, if the right amount of money is thrown his way, that may tell as well. Because we all know money talks, especially in these type of sports. So that's your quick up-to-date football information. Oh, I did just find out also the Seattle Seahawks released Doug Baldwin and Cam Chancellor. That's some big moves. Both of those guys are getting up there in age. Baldwin doesn't stay healthy, and with the addition of DK Metcalf, Baldwin time probably was limited. I think Metcalf is going to be a stud. I've told a lot of people I thought Seattle was going to draft him in the first round. They were able to get him in the second round, which is going to be big because I think now he has a chip on his shoulders. So we'll see how things pan out for Seattle. And with Russell and his deep ball, which he throws a great deep ball, I think we might see some fireworks in Seattle. We're just starting here on Off the Cliff Sports, guys. Remember, Instagram, we're there. Twitter, we're there. We posting often. We have some giveaways that we are ready to give away once we get the right amount of followers. We want you guys to know how much we appreciate what you do and how you listen to our show, and we want to show thanks the best way we know how. Cliff Jacks with you. I'll be back on Off the Cliff Sports in a moment. Don't go anywhere. Cliff Jacks back with you here. Remember, at Cliff_sports is the Twitter handle. Off the Cliff_sports is the Instagram tag. Also, all the episodes are out there on YouTube or podbean.com. You can get all your episodes that you missed or that you need to catch up on. There's some good stuff out there, whether you heard it the first time or you need to go back and check it out. Just go check it out and leave me some comments. Positive comments, negative comments. I'll answer either way. Before we get into the playoff action, let's talk a little baseball. A couple topics. Albert Pujols got his 2,000 RBI. I'll be honest, I didn't even know Albert Pujols was still in the league. After he signed that $200 million contract, which when he signed that deal, it was like, whoa, that's a lot of money. Now it is nothing. $200 million, they throw that around anybody nowadays in Major League Baseball. Also, controversy this week. The Boston Red Sox, the defending World Series champs, some of the players decided to go to the White House. There was a group of players that did not go to the White House. So the real big controversy is, if everybody doesn't go, should anybody go? I can understand if there was one player here or one player there that could not make the trip, but it's obvious right now going to the White House isn't the thing because a lot of the politics involved and the president of current is not the best guy to socialize with because he's very one-sided. So it was very interesting to see how that played out when you heard that the manager did not even go to the White House. Now, normally when there's some just players only, but once you start having the coaching staff deciding not to go, that lets you know there's a real big deal. And besides, I guess those players didn't want to eat fast food, which is what apparently they serve at the White House, not sell. They probably would sell it if they could. Very interesting. I think that the players on that team should have stood with the guys that didn't go because they knew it was a stand for a reason. It's not just not to go, it's for a reason. But, some players support the current president. Everybody doesn't make good decisions. Hey, that's all I can say about that. On to the NBA. The Milwaukee Bucks put the Boston Celtics to sleep this week, and they took them out their misery. The same Boston Celtics team that a lot of people had going to the NBA Finals before the season started. Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, the young studs Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, the veteran Al Horford, Morris, that team. Giannis and his Milwaukee Bucks put them to sleep. 5 games. Some people want to call it a gentleman's sweep. I call it 5 games because the first game, the Celtics came out expired. And from that point on, Giannis Antetokounmpo and his team took their heart away from them. And they sent Kyrie Irving on his way out of Massachusetts. It was an ugly series, to be honest with you. And Game 5 was ridiculous. Game 5 was something that should not have been on TV. And as I told one of my buddies, if I was the ownership, I may would have told Brad Stevens, I'm really close to letting you go because his team played very uninspired. And you could tell pretty much from the the second quarter on that game was over and they were going through the motions. You got to put some of that on the coach because he has to know when his players need to be fired up or not. I mean, if you look at Pop in San Antonio, if Pop gets to a point where he's mad and he can tell his players ain't doing it, he'll bench the whole five. He'll bench everybody. Say, give me 5 new players and go out there. Brad Stevens, on the other hand, don't make those type of adjustments. Boston has a lot of soul searching to do next year, and I don't see the Celtics getting to that point where people think they're going. I honestly think they're about to take a couple steps back. I also don't believe Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Rozier. I don't think those guys, when it's time for them to go, are going to re-sign with Boston. They may keep one of them because they can throw absurd money at one of those young studs. But I think the other guys are going to say, hey, we out of this. Boston's not where we want to be, so we're going. And it's all because of the coaching staff trying to play Gordon Hayward, trying to appease Kyrie Irving. Tough for Boston. Oh well. Bucks move on. The Bucks still are waiting to see who they're going to play. Saturday night, we'll know whether it's the Philadelphia 76ers or the Toronto Raptors. Game 7 up in Canada. So if you guys listen to this episode Saturday morning, you'll know that I am going to pick Toronto, which I picked Toronto to get to the finals anyway, so I'm going to still ride with Toronto in Game 7. I don't think Philadelphia travels well. I don't think Joel Embiid will show up. Ben Simmons, he only plays defense because he can't shoot. That's ridiculous. He's not going to show up. So the only player they probably have show up is Jimmy Butler. So 1-5 if you ask me. On the other side of the total, big injury. Kevin Durant went down in Game 5. You all would know about that by now. But Golden State was still able to win the fourth quarter and beat the Rockets without KD in Game 5. Game 6 is Saturday. By the time this episode airs, Game 6 has already been played, and Game 7, if necessary, will be Sunday. I got Golden State going to the finals, so I'm going to continue to pick Golden State to win this series. I do think Golden State will win in Houston Friday night. I just got a hunch that they're going to come ready to play, and I got a hunch that Houston's going to lay an egg. That's just my thinking. I totally could be wrong about that pick. I know Golden State will be able to handle business back in Oracle. I'm not worried about that. But I got a hunch that Houston will lay an egg in Game 6, and Golden State will win, led by Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. If I'm wrong, I want you guys to tell me and call me on it. And like I say, it's my hunch. Everyday Cliff. Just like you guys. Everyday Joe's, Everyday James, Everyday Cliff. I'm not an expert at this. I just go by what I see and what my feelings are. That game will be determine the winner of the Portland Denver Nuggets game, which currently, as we're recording, is Game 6 going on right now. Very close game. Late in the third quarter, tied game. If Denver wins, they'll await the winner of that series between Golden State and Houston. Denver has shocked me. They're not as high-powered as they were in the regular season, if you ask me. I'm beginning to really question, man, how did they win those games? Because they have Murray, they have Jokic. The other role players are okay. It amazes me when I watch them. Man, they was able to get the number 2 seed with this roster. That's pretty good. Pretty impressive if you ask me. If you sit and watch a bunch of their games. But I think they'll beat Portland. Portland is a 2-man team for sure. And with Cantor with a separated shoulder, he's out there giving it his all, but it's pretty much a 2-man team on the other side. So, again, if you didn't hear me before the season started, I had Toronto and Golden State, and I'm sticking with those 2 teams to get to the finals. If you don't like what I said, please tell me. Everybody has their opinion. It's a lot of people been down on Golden State lately. Now, the one thing I don't like about Golden State, I don't like that Kevin Durant came to Golden State. So I think he was a garbage move. I love Russell Westbrook. I'm gonna always tell y'all I love Russell Westbrook through his terrible shooting, which I wish I could talk to him and tell him, hey, look, you got to shoot better. You're a superstar player. You got to do better. I mean, he does the passing, he's getting the rebounds, he's playing hard, but there's times when I don't think he's playing hard enough, if you ask me. That may just be me, and that be my old school, being an older person. I might just got that old school tendencies, but there are some things I would love for Russell to change. But I'm not as hard on Golden State right now because I think everybody's trying to crown Houston too fast. They're playing that ball, shoot threes, layups, and free throws is their game. And I think people are trying to really crown them too fast to be champs. But I guess by the end of this weekend, we'll know whether I was right, they've been crowned too fast, or whether they knocked off the champs. It's going to be interesting, though, because if they can't win these next two games with Kevin Durant not playing, that's going to really speak loud about James Harden and him not able to succeed in the playoffs. And that's a narrative that, just like they have the narrative about Russell Westbrook, his terrible shooting, and you can't win with him, the narrative about James Harden is going to be he freezes up in big time moments. Big time moments meaning the playoffs. Lots of interesting storylines, just like Kyrie Irving in Boston. You got Joel Embiid either sick or hurt almost every other game. So a lot of star players were finding out it's tough being a superstar, i.e. LeBron James, and going to, I think it was 8 straight finals. Hard to do. He's one of the only ones to do it. So congrats, LeBron, on letting people know being a superstar is not easy. Golden State, 5 straight trips to the finals. That's crazy. I can see why they're tired and burnt out. It's hard to do that as well. The NBA, though, the playoffs this year, I will say, is one of the best I've seen in a while. It's been exciting. These have been some really good games. You had a 4 overtime playoff game. You had a last second shot to knock a team out the playoffs. It's been a lot going on in these playoffs, and I think the ratings probably are going to be higher than the last few years. And that's even with LeBron James not in the playoffs. Who thought the playoffs would be that good without LeBron? I hope he's resting up for next year because he's going to have to carry that team next year. Unless he can get his boy Kyrie to come to LA. After this short break, we're going to come back with your favorite segment, Top of the Cliff. Who should be going up on that cliff to join me this week? Got a couple options. Tell me who you think. Thank you all for listening out there. Cliff Jack's back with you on Off the Cliff Sports. And it's time for Top of the Cliff. Today we're going to invite Uncle Drew, aka Kyrie Irving, to come up to the top of the cliff with us. If you can find him. If you can find both of them. Because as of last week and this week, Kyrie Irving has been non-existent. There was a lot of talk about how bad Russell Westbrook played a couple weeks back, and I had to bring my favorite player to the top of the cliff. So you betcha I'm going to bring Kyrie Irving to the top of the cliff. Kyrie Irving had a pretty solid game 1 of the series against Milwaukee, but the last 4 games, it looks like Kyrie forgot how to shoot the basketball. And not only could he not shoot the ball, he didn't even average a triple-double in his bad performances. Last 4 games for Kyrie, 4 for 18 shooting, 8 for 22 shooting. After the 8 for 22 game in the press conference, he said there's not going to be any more games like this. The next game, he shot 7 for 22. And of course, in the closeout game, which they flew from Boston to Milwaukee for no reason, Kyrie was 6 of 21. if you need percentages, Kyrie was 30% from the field, 19% from the three-point arc. That was the best player on the team for the Celtics. Kyrie made a lot of fuss about being under LeBron's shadow. It was so bad that Kyrie had to call LeBron James and apologize because it finally kicked in. Man, LeBron, now I see what you were saying back in the day. Being a leader is tough. Kyrie is learning that the hard way. And come next year, most likely Kyrie will be playing for his third team in the league. As a superstar, players do move teams a little more now than they did back in the old days, which is one reason that myself, a lot of the older players that used to play the game, a lot of the older everyday Joes and everyday Janes that used to watch the game and cheer for the game, one reason we say this league has gotten soft. These guys don't understand you got to go through stuff to win. It's not just given to you. Other than Kevin Durant, who he left a good team to go to a championship team. So, championship was pretty much given to him. But hey, he did get 2 rings and 2 finals MVP out of it. But Kyrie Irving, I want you to come to the top of the cliff and join me. Once you and Uncle Drew get up here, it may take you a little longer to get up here because Uncle Drew, apparently them knees are getting bad on him. He's not as good as he was in his last film. Once you guys get to the top of the cliff, I can't tell you what to do once you get here, but I do want to see both of you at the top of the cliff. Uncle Drew, Kyrie Irving, please join Cliff Jacks at the top of the cliff and do whatever you may once you get there. Good luck on your next team, Kyrie. Going out west, I heard, is a pretty good thing, but it's tough out there. Call LeBron and ask him how tough it is in the West. You might want to stay on this East Coast where you have a chance to get to the finals every year. We're coming back with some hockey news. Cliff Jacks, Off the Cliff Sports. Don't go anywhere. Cliff Jacks back with you. NHL time. My hometown Dallas Stars lost Game 7 in double overtime to the St. Louis Blues this week, so it's been kind of a downer. This team superseded expectations. Midway through the year, the owner called out his best players. The Stars were able to turn things around and get a wild card, won the first round series. Should have won this series, but they didn't. So St. Louis is playing in the Western Conference Finals. And they're going to go up against the San Jose Sharks, who won in a Game 7 as well. The Stars should have beat St. Louis in 6 games, but they did not take it serious enough at home. You could see in their play, they didn't play physical, and it came back to bite them. The person that I thought was going to cost them the series, the Bishop, the goalie, he actually had a wonderful Game 7. He defended so many shots. I think it was like 46 or so. Unfortunately, 2 of them got through. So I don't really blame him because the offense for the Stars didn't come up, didn't show up. They really confused me. I had to ask a couple people that watch hockey a little more than me. Seemed like their scheme was just off. They wasn't taking shots that were available. And it cost them in the end. But great season for the Stars, hometown team. I think the Blues have a good shot of beating San Jose, and I actually am going to pick St. Louis to win and get to the Stanley Cup Finals. I think they're going to end up playing the Boston Bruins, who are going up against the Carolina Hurricanes. You may have heard of the Carolina Hurricanes because their owner funded $250 million into the AAF Football League. So, he's been in the news for that, which I think he ended up taking a $70 million loss in that deal. But his hockey team, Carolina, is going up against Boston. I think Boston is a lot bigger and stronger. I think they're going to overpower Carolina and get to the Stanley Cup Finals. I do have Boston winning the whole thing, beating St. Louis to host Lord Stanley's Cup and be our NHL champs for the 2019 season. That's the way I have that playing out. My Stars are not in it, so I may not watch as closely, but I'm definitely going to watch enough so I can get you guys some good information on the Stanley Cup playoffs because it's actually been pretty exciting too. Watching some of those games, like, man, I know it's better watching hockey games there, but some of them actually have been a little entertaining this year on TV, even. More goals scored than normal. So that's your hockey rewind for the week. Next up, we're going to do some quick takes, and I'm going to get you guys out of here. It's Mother's Day weekend. Let's go spend some time with the women that brought us into this world and that molded a lot of us. Off the Cliff Sports coming right back at you. Let's get into some quick takes for today. Tony Romo, ex-quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, current football commentator, is playing in the Byron Nelson Classic this week. He shot a 76 in his first round. Tony is a pretty solid golfer, and I think he really wants to get a PGA Tour card. I believe that's his dream. Might be his dream over getting to the Super Bowl, something he never did and never will do. But Tony's a good guy. He likes to have fun. He's an enjoyable guy, and he does well in the booth and on the golf course. Congratulations, Tony Romo. There's been a lot of talk that Amari Cooper, staying with the Cowboys, wants a very lucrative contract offer. I think Cooper is thinking he's a lot better than he really is. And the Cowboys have him with the big head. Cooper is not Julio Jones. He's not Antonio Brown. He's not AJ Green when healthy. He's not Hopkins from Houston. Or Mike Evans or Odell Beckham Jr. But he thinks he should be paid like them, which is a problem. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys caused that problem. Hey, good luck with them trying to figure it out. Some other interesting news for you. The Los Angeles Lakers, after Monty Williams signed with Phoenix to become their head coach, they went ahead and went after Tyronn Lue. And they really disrespected Tyronn Lue by asking him to take a 3-year contract deal when right now most coaches are taking 5-year deals. Not only did they want him to take a 3-year contract, they also wanted to have a say in some of the people that's on his coaching staff. So Tyronn Lue told them, you know what? You can keep your Los Angeles Lakers job and I'll seek employment elsewhere. Plus, he's still getting paid from his last contract when he got fired by Cleveland. Win-win for Tyronn Lue. And I feel kind of bad for Jenny Buss after trying to get things in the right direction with Magic, and then he quit on her. It's like the Lakers are going backwards. Hey, sometimes when you're on top, you end up going to the bottom. And right now the Lakers are in a tailspin. The New York Knicks are in a tailspin. I believe the Boston Celtics will join them in the next year or two in that same type of tailspin. There's a lot of parity in basketball for the most part. I mean, you still have Golden State, that juggernaut at the top, but this year I think KD is going to leave. Klay Thompson might leave, and then you're going to have even more parity in the NBA. It's good for basketball. It makes it exciting. And the way the scores have been lately, a lot of high scoring games, fans are going to be very tuned in to what happens. Some other news that is a downer to some of us. Tiger Woods actually had a ceremony with the president. The president gave him some type of award or trophy for winning the Masters, I guess. I don't know what the whole situation was. I mean, I didn't even know the Masters champion went to the White House, but Tiger Woods went and sat with the president. Got a lot of people kind of peeved at Tiger. Tiger knows that's not the way to go, but hey, he told you from the start who he is. Tiger's feeling himself, which, hey, on the golf course, he's doing his thing, and you have to commend him for that. But his personal life, I guess he's getting it together however he wants things to work out. Also, interesting news for you guys. We had the Kentucky Derby this past weekend. Something I didn't even know. I didn't know you had lanes in horse racing. I didn't know you had to stay in a certain pattern while you're rounding the track. Because apparently the horse that we thought won the Kentucky Derby disrupted some of the other horses and was disqualified because he kind of pushed other horses out of their lane as he tried to move over on the track. Very interesting for me. There's a lot of fans booing, some cheering. I guess it depends on if your horse won money or your horse lost money. The favorite, on favorite, Maximum Security, was the horse that won, but first place was taken away from him and he was disqualified because he veered in front of the other horses, causing them to stumble and lose traction. It was a very sloppy track out there this year in Kentucky. It seems like it rains almost all the time, but very interesting. They say we hadn't had a disqualification in the Kentucky Derby in a long time. First time I've ever been watching and noticed something like that. It was weird, very weird, very weird. And there's some upset people, and I think it's probably going to be some litigations going on between now and the next year's Kentucky Derby. We even have excitement in horse racing. You know, we're living the good life right now. Guys, that was your quick takes for the week. As I told you, short episode for you this week, but you guys know one thing I love doing is talking sports. I can do sports all day, every day, because it's my favorite thing, next to my family, of course. And I had to leave you guys with something. Good, quick episode as you go out shopping for Mother's Day, or if you're preparing dinner, episode for you to listen to. By all means, comment whether you like the episode or dislike the episode. Let me know what I need to do better. Let me know what I excel in your opinion, because hey, you an everyday Joe, you an everyday Jane, and I'm everyday Cliff, so we're not experts. This show's for us. I appreciate you guys always tuning in, always listening to Off the Cliff Sports, and we're going to definitely continue to give you up to date, high intensity topics and get you the information you need to know. I'm your host, Cliff Jackson. You've been listening to episode 18 of Off the Cliff Sports. Until next week, peace.